That is a very beautiful song. Um, let's see. Before we get into the news, I think that's good. Um, I want to talk about me over here. Um, I was avoiding doing on-camera stuff because in July, the early part of July, my dentures broke, and I was kind of embarrassed to put my face on screen without my teeth. It is what it is. Um, Mind you, this is July. I called, made it as soon as a appointment as soon as I possibly could. This is in the United States we're talking about here. I won't be able to get my dentures replaced until December 4th. And we're supposed to be the most advanced country in the world, but it takes 5 months to get a pair of freaking dentures. Okay, that rant's over. Let me go into my next rant. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Blue. Trump blames Zelensky for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Uh, you know, it's kind of a roundabout, out of context way that they're talking about. Um, but basically, is this line here? But he should have never let that war start. And this coming from, okay, just to rewind back to like 2017, Hunter Biden's laptop and all that, crap going on back then. Trump withheld the military aid that we were giving Ukraine back then in 2017, 2018, and 2019. It was all withheld because he was trying to extort dirt on the Bidens from Ukraine. And for 3 years, Ukraine did not get the military support that we had promised them because of Trump. And now he's blaming the war on Zelensky. And if I wasn't wearing my hat, you'd see smoke coming off the top of my head right now. If anybody caused this war, it's Trump. Because if Ukraine had that 3 years of military aid, they would have been in a much stronger position. They would have been being trained by NATO forces, and their military would be 3 years ahead of what they were when they were invaded. But no, Trump wanted dirt on Biden and decided to use that as a way to extort the dirt. Thank you, Trump. What a chump. Anyways, I mean, it's almost to the point that it's comical. You can't make this shit up. The other day, you guys were asking how long it would take for North Koreans to defect to Ukraine. 24 hours. Some 18 North Korean soldiers are believed to have deserted the Russian front line, and with Kremlin fighters reportedly searching for them. The troops were deployed in Russia's Kursk and Bryansk Oblast. about 4 miles from the border with Ukraine. When they deserted the public broadcasting company of Ukraine. So, yeah, anyways. Intelligence officials cited that by the broadcaster. Officials cited by the broadcaster said the Russian military is searching for North Korean soldiers. And while the commanders are trying to conceal the desertion from their higher ups. So, yeah, it took a day. Um, so talking about North Korea and Moscow have been developing the relationship for some time now. To even doing like a NATO type of agreement. That's all old news. If you guys haven't heard about it, then go back and read it. It's called BRICS, BRICS, something like that. South Korea's defense minister said, as Russia and North Korea have signed a mutual treaty akin to a military alliance, the possibility of such deployment is highly likely. South Korea and Ukraine should sign a treaty. There's already a state of war between North Korea and South Korea. The peace agreement has never been signed. It's just a ceasefire. So, Kyiv should go after a mutual defense treaty with South Korea. See how Russia likes that one. Sorry, I'm trying to condense this into something that's not, me sitting here going blah 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 blah. A lot of this is like filler stuff that's old news. But yeah, North Korea soldiers already have defected, deserted, however you want to put it. Russia met for training again, and Ukrainian rocket struck again. Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to go into is Zelensky's peace plan. I was hoping somebody would translate his speech to the Ukrainian parliament, but no, our Western reporters are lazy, and they waited until he addressed the EU and then, gave the summary from the EU speech. Hey, Niels. And to continue knocking our press, Western press, BBC. The plan outlined by Zelensky consists of 5 key points. I'm sorry, there was 10 points. Right there. So, Ukrainian, Zelensky presented EU MPs with his victory plan aimed at strengthening his country's position enough to end the war with Russia. Zelensky told Parliament they could the plan could finish the war, which began they could finish the war next year. Key elements include a formal invitation to join NATO. Well, let's just go down to the 10 points. inviting Ukraine to join the NATO military alliance, the strengthening of Ukrainian defense against Russian forces, including getting permission from allies to use their long-range weapons on Russian territory, and the continuation of Ukraine's military operations on Russian territory to avoid creation of buffer zones in Ukraine. Yeah, we want the buffer zones in Russia, not in Ukraine. Oh, shoot, I'm doing the wrong one. The 10 points instead of the 5 that they were talking about. Radiation and nuclear safety. Focusing on restoring safety around Europe's largest nuclear power plant, Zaporizhia, which is Russian occupied at the moment. Food security, including protecting and ensuring Ukraine's grain exports to the world's poorest nations. Yeah, I'm frustrated and just gave up on not showing my face, so I'm here. Hi. Release of all prisoners. Energy security, with focus on price restrictions on Russian energy resources, as well as aiding Ukraine with restoring power infrastructure, half of which has been damaged by Russian attacks. Release of all prisoners and deportees, including war prisoners and children deported to Russia. All of them. Now you go here, and BBC said nothing about returning the deported Ukrainian people. Why was that left out, I wonder? Agenda they're trying to push? Sorry, I'm harping on Western media, and well, with good reason, I think, but I'll try to stop. Restoring Ukraine's territorial integrity, and Russia reaffirming in accordance with the UN Charter, which Zelensky said is not up for negotiations. Also, I'm adding into this, Russia signed a treaty with the US, Britain, and Ukraine that they would respect the international borders as is back in like 2008, reaffirmed it in 2012, and then invaded in 2014 for the first invasion that took over Crimea and parts of Donetsk and Luhansk regions. This is like, I kind of understand why he wants this, but it's kind of like asking for a signature on a piece of toilet paper as you're heading to the toilet. I mean, I understand why they wanted to include that, but Russian promises are worth about as much poop as you can fit in your hand. Hey, Lotus, Thorben, good to see you guys. Hey, KK, GG. You know, your name's a tongue twister, GG. 6 point, withdrawal of Russian troops and cessation of hostilities. Restoration of Ukraine's state borders with Russia. Justice, including the establishment of a special tribunal to persecute Russian war crimes. Obviously needs to be done. Prevention of ecocide. Need for the protection of environment with focus on demining and restoring water treatment facilities. Russia has been attacking the water processing plants in Ukraine There has not been very much coverage of that. But yeah, they're attacking the water treatment plants right alongside the electrical infrastructure. So definitely that needs to be on the table. Prevention of escalation of conflict and building security architecture in the Euro-Atlantic space, including guarantees for Ukraine. That would be taken care of with them joining NATO or being set up as a protectorate of the EU. Confirmation of the war's end, including a document signed by the involved parties. Again, Russia doesn't honor him, but I could see why that's something that would be asked for. Obviously, Russia rejected the peace proposal. The reason I did keep the BBC one up because this right here. The Kremlin dismissed the plan with a spokesman saying Kiev needs to sober up. That's a fairly expected response for me, anyways. Zelensky also criticized China, Iran, North Korea for their backing of Russia, and describes them as a coalition of criminals. Yeah, I mean it's the new access of like World War I or World War II. The axis of evil. Except there's 4 of them instead of 3. He also said Russian President Putin had gone mad, describing him as bent on waging wars, which is fairly accurate. 3 addendums remain secret. Okay. You're only talking about 5 points. Here's all 10 of them. I'm going to go with this because it's more accurate. Response from G7 leaders said they were committed to bringing peace to Ukraine in line with its rights enshrined in the UN Charter. Exactly. That's what needs to be done. And I think that is a fair reckoning of it. Ask for your people that they deported and imprisoned. There's nothing on here that Ukraine's asking for that should be off the table. I know in other conflicts like North Korea, they're asking for some pretty crazy stuff. Like one of the last peace deals that was negotiated, North Korea wanted like half of South Korea to come under North Korea's rule. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, it's pretty thoughtful and straightforward plan for peace that should be anybody's plan for peace. There's nothing extravagant they're asking for. Help with demining, rebuilding electric, and making sure the world doesn't die to nuclear disaster at Zaporizhia. Okay. That's not bad talking points in my opinion. So with that, I forgot to bring this page up. Well, as you can see, Russia's at it again. Telegram. So about 15 minutes ago, the main groups of UAVs are in the west of the country and in the east. Others are scattered across the regions. A group of 10 unmanned aerial vehicles enters Ravenna, Ternopil region, western course. One rocket from the Ravine region heading to Volyn. 3 UAVs in the north of Klemensky in the direction of Ternopil. By 10 a.m., rockets stretch from Chernisky to Poltava regions. Movement is either arbitrary or western. A new group of 7 rockets in Sumy Oblast is heading towards Poltava. Pairs and single UAVs in Vystantia, Chernihiv, Kirnograd, and Kiev regions. Keep either a westerly course or an arbitrary one. So this has been going off and on all day long. Go to packet. A little over 3 hours ago, this is what the rockets looked like. All but the very western edge was under air alerts. And all the rockets and UAVs yeah, if North Korea invaded South Korea, there's a little scenario that plays out in my head. They get as far as like the first farm field in South Korea, or like granary or grocery store, and they drop their weapons, run in the grocery store, and gorge themselves. So if I was South Korea, I'd be building like huge grocery stores like right along the border. That kind of a joke, but not entirely. One of those kind of jokes I had for Ukraine is when the war is over, I want to open a laundromat right on the border with Russia. ZCU news for today. 91.5% of surveyed citizens trust the armed forces of Ukraine. You guys can go and read that if you'd like. 750 representatives from 30 countries of the world became participants in the Second International Forum of Defense Industries. I've had neither a wounded nor a dead person during the entire war. The commander of the Caesar gun. Military serviceman with the pseudonym Ben left a good job in Denmark and came to Ukraine on February 22nd. He transferred the military equipment into the trunk and returned to his native self-propelled artillery division. Served 3 years, and then in the OSS, in this time to give them everything. Absolutely. Okay, the translation is not the greatest. Google Translate does not work well. So Ben served 6 years in artillery. So it's just honoring this guy. That's kind of cool. Whole news story just for him. If you want to read it, here is the link. And you can read all these for yourself. Last night, operational information as of 10 p.m. last night. The defense forces continue to hold back the Russian invaders. Since the beginning of the day, there have been 112 combat clashes. Significant drop from yesterday. The enemy carried out one missile attack using one missile, 49 airstrikes, dropping 50 bombs from the aircraft, used 655 kamikaze drones, and fired 3,500 artillery strikes on the position of our troops in populated areas. Excuse me, I need a drink. In the Kharkiv direction during this day, the occupiers carried out 4 attacks near Staritsa. Units of the defense forces successfully repelled all enemy assaults. According to preliminary information, the losses of the enemy amounted to 65 occupiers wounded or killed, 16 unmanned aerial vehicles, 4 units of special equipment, and a car were destroyed. In addition, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 5 cars, and a unit of enemy special equipment were damaged. Staritsa. I'm not sure where that is at. I don't think that's the place. That's the place. So, Kharkiv right there. So, yeah, Kharkiv, Kupiansk. So they're talking about 4 attacks on this village just over the border from Russia. In the Kupiansk direction, 18 enemy attacks were recorded today in the districts of Kurakivka, Vishkansky, Stepovo, Novoselivka, Lorosa, and Vishnevo. 9 of them are ongoing. And again, this should be the right one. This should be the one I'm using. Again, Kupiansk right here on the Oskil River reservoir behind it. So talking about attacks here, and then basically this general front line is 18 attacks. 17 times the enemy attacked in the Lumansky direction, tried to advance in the areas of Gorovika, Novisky, Tverny, Torisky. Our defenders managed to repulse 13 enemy attacks. So 4 would be still ongoing at 10 o'clock last night. And Liman, so they're talking in this general area here. Oh, I can close that one. 3 combat clashes took place in the Kramatorsk direction. The occupiers were active in Stupovki. All the enemy's attempts to suppress our soldiers turned out to be useless. And again, Kramatorsk, in this general area, in Chasiv Yar area. What was the name of that town again? I'm not seeing it right offhand. So let's just keep on keeping on. During the day, the invaders once attacked the positions of Ukrainian soldiers near Toretsk. The attack was repulsed. The enemy had no success. And again, Toretsk, right here. You know, still heavy fighting over this town, even though it was only one attack today. Other days, it's been much higher. So, Pokrovsk direction. Since the beginning of the day, fighting has been going into the areas of Romin, Kurtyar, Seladov. 9 offenses and assault operations of the enemy were repulsed. 2 are ongoing. Our troops are taking measures to maintain the designated boundaries and positions. Today's losses of the enemy preliminarily amount to 155 eliminated and wounded. We also destroyed a tank, a mortar, 2 motorcycles, and an automobile. In addition, a BMP and 2 mortars were damaged. So 11 attacks in the Pokrovsk direction. And again, you see the rail line pushed out to try and take the rail line here. Trying to take the rail line here. Russia needs its rail lines. And here's where the majority of the attacks are happening. There are currently 46 attacks by the occupiers in the Kharkiv direction. The invaders remain most active near Tuskurny, Novosolodivka, Kharkiv, Georgievka, and near Vodyany. 26 enemy assaults have been repulsed, and the fighting is still ongoing. So at 10 o'clock last night, they repulsed 26, and 20 were still ongoing. They're talking about this little area right here. Vernikov, Alinka, Novoselodivka. So, yeah, they're talking about here. 46 attacks in one day in this little tiny pocket. That is crazy. In the Vermitsk direction, our troops repelled 3 enemy attacks in the direction of Bogoyevslinka, Novoukrainka, and Zolotaya Niva. Ugh. This is not really easy to read these in English with my dyslexia because those letters just not in the right places sometimes. Oh, Vermensky. That is down here. Ludmika. So, still have clashes ongoing. And you can see the aerials here on Deep State. In the Orhiv direction, our troops repelled 1 enemy attack in the area of Malatomachia. In the Dnieper direction, units of our troops successfully repelled 6 assaults. So, Kharkiv is this direction, and Malatomik in the, they were repelled here. When they talk about the Dnieper direction, this is the Dnipro River, where the old reservoir was, Endahar, and they were talking about 6 attacks along this area. Today guess we're not going to talk about, oh God, I can't remember the name of it now. The Russian territory that they occupy. That's a brain fart and a half. Today we celebrate the soldiers of the 57th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade, the 79th Separate Travin Assault Brigade, and again the 425th Separate Assault Battalion, who inflicted significant losses on the enemy in manpower. Glory to the Ukrainian defenders, glory to Ukraine, Heroям Slava. Let's get back to chat really quick here. Hey, Cabo. Catch you later. Seladov is always been in danger. It's it's the front. It's the holding point right now for basically this entire side of the bulge. Kharkiv is holding out here, and this is, there's 48 attacks yesterday just in this area. The Dragon drones, they really can't affect the rail lines too much, just because what they drop kind of just bounces and rolls off of the iron rails. If it was able to stay on the rail lines, it would melt through them, and it could break the rail lines. But you'd almost be better off like making your own iron oxide and aluminum powder, and lighting that and putting it in a coffee can and putting it on the tracks, and it will melt through the track, and there you go. Obviously this is not going to be useful for them right now, because, well, they're advancing up this rail line here, so it's not connected, but this is, this rail line goes right back to Donetsk. Same with this one up here, comes right back down into the north part of Donetsk. So this is where it gets really dangerous for Pokrovsk, because they'd have 2 separate lines to move supplies and vehicles on, and it's not very well connected. Let's see, where did that rail line go? You see, this one comes into here, and this is the rail line here. So for them to get supplies there, they'd have to go up this way, or over to here, and then across this way. But having those 2 rail lines, it makes it significantly easier for Russia, because they don't know how to do logistics without trains. let's go back and just check on operational information as of 4 p.m. for today. So 4 p.m. that would be 8 o'clock in the morning for me. So at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there had already been 120 combat clashes, 2 more than the total for yesterday. So the occupiers using artillery, aviation in Chernihiv and Sumy regions, the settlements. Russians carry out 4 airstrikes on Kursk region. So they're using the glide bombs on their own people in their own homeland. It shows you how much Russia loves its people. 3 combat clashes in Kharkiv, 9 in Kupiansk, 16 attacks in Lemansky, Seversky. They're just using aviation and missiles. Some minor attacks in Kramatorsk direction, Turets direction 6 times, Pokrovsk direction 23 attempts, and that includes Sadovy. Kharkiv direction 22 assaults. Vermits direction 5 assaults. Aviation glide bombs in Orikhiv, and 1 attack over the Dnieper. So I'm guessing tomorrow, or tonight, is going to have a big number of clashes and artillery and bombs dropped, but we'll find that one out tomorrow. Obviously, they haven't released the end of day information yet, so go through that one tomorrow. Zelensky's Telegram channel. So again, this is the meeting in EU, and more meetings in EU, meeting with the prime ministers and other officials. But what I wanted to go to was this one. He's on his way to Brussels.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Зараз ми в дорозі в Брюссель. Буде спільне засідання Європейської ради на рівні лідерів. Я представлю план перемоги, наш інструмент примусу Росії до миру. Всі лідери Європи почують, як треба посилити наші позиції. Нам треба завершити цю війну справедливо. Я дякую Шарлю Мішелю, президенту Євроради, за запрошення для України взяти участь Будуть також зустрічі в Європарламенті із президенткою Робертою Мецолою, із головами політичних груп в Європарламенті. Буде зустріч з Марком Рюте, генсеком НАТО. Також ми готуємось до засідання Ради України-НАТО на рівні міністрів оборони. Головне – більше захисту для України зараз перед зимою. Вчора ввечері я говорив з президентом Байденом. Багато дуже питань. Вдячний за новий пакет підтримки. 425 мільйонів доларів обсяг. Це ППО, пріоритет особливий, зброя для наших воїнів. Ми обговорили також наступні наші пакети. Президент Байден дав мені слово, що в найближчий час пакети будуть реалізовані. Ми говорили про далекобійну зброю, говорили про Рамштайн, засідання за кілька тижнів. Також говорили про те, як наші команди працюватимуть за пунктами плану перемоги, те, що має нам допомогти і на фронті цими тижнями. І дуже очікуємо підтримку заради наших східних напрямків. План перемоги – це і про дипломатію, про мир завдяки силі, який має привести нас до справді результативного саміту миру. Зараз будуть дуже активні тижні в роботі з нашими партнерами. У нас з ними є сила для справедливого миру. Я хочу подякувати кожному і кожній, хто з Україною. Дякую президенту Байдену, обом партіям Конгресу, всім американцям. Дякую Євросоюзу, кожному лідеру Європи, кожній країні, які зберігають єдність заради України і тим самим заради себе і всієї Європи. Дякую всім нашим людям. Слава Україні!
Героям слава. I closed that, didn't I? Yep. Let me bring up the error alert map again. And ask if anybody has any questions or areas that I need to look into. Oh, the UA has gained ground back in Touretsk. So let's see what Deep State has to say. So Deep State hasn't updated it quite yet. I know back on like the 10th or the 11th, Russian forces moved into this area here. That city block there. A bunch of high-rise apartment buildings in this area. And almost immediately, let's go back to like the 10th or the 11th. So they moved into this area. And we're starting to take up positions in these high-rise buildings. And within minutes, Ukrainian drone teams came in, bogged them down, cut them off from reinforcements, and just wiped them out. And Russia never held this area for more than an hour. And that was, like I said, back on the 10th or the 11th. And that's as far as they've been able to get back. There's a few little buildings right along here. Let's see, where are they saying? Soledov. So yeah, they made a significant movement there. They gained some more of the fields. The outskirts of the town still being fought over. Basically, the in between of Mikolivka and Seladov. So it looks like there's housing in here, but most of these have been abandoned and left for a long time. It looks like there's like one house still there, and like these are all houses that have collapsed in on themselves. So there's not, there's wooded areas, kind of, sort of, along the roadways. But I don't think there's any real shelter in here. These are all old, collapsed, abandoned buildings. Well, I'd say they have a better chance. Let's go to deep state map. They have a better chance from the north if they can take these mining slag piles. Oh, the air alert in Kharkiv just ended. Google Map. Let's see. Terrain. So they have a good vantage point here already. And as you can see, this rises up pretty far. I'm betting this is from on top. Nope. So, this is Seladov behind us. And give you an idea of the height advantage that those slag heaps give. So again, the mining debris hill, and the rest of it's just flat. So having that hill is vastly more advantageous than you would think. It must be the local bus stop. Pepsi. And the Coke's empty. That doesn't really say anything there. Yeah, typical Ukrainian village. But it's the rail line. Don't see it there. Oh, that's the highway there. Okay. Yeah, here's the rail line. Okay. Let's see if there's. Usually I can find like a overhead drone shot, but this is like a really good example. Again, the tailings from the mine, or from the mines, I should say. That's the only height in the whole place. Otherwise, it looks like Kansas. Beautiful day, though. I wish I could have been back there in September 19th, 2019. Let's see. Give one more shot. Nope, no drone footage. Ah, there it is. So, not a whole lot to catch fire for on the tracks themselves. But yeah, it's Ukraine's pretty flat, except in some areas. If you watched, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, Greg Terry was talking about this area here behind Kupiansk and how rural and hilly it is back here. There's not much in this area for pictures, but this is of the river. Let's see if I can find a different one. Okay, like you see back here where the fields are fairly large, few ravines here and there, and then you look in here. So on top of one hill, and a little bit of a flat area on top of a hill here that goes into a ravine that's in a hill there. If there's another one that shows it. This is the Oskill River village on the western side. And then you see the hills. And it's just, it's like Wisconsin hills back in this area. One of my friends that I met in Ukraine is from, where is it? Oh, my eyes are hurting. They were just outside of Kupian. Oh, there it is. Her grandparents lived in this little tiny village before the war. They've since moved out, obviously, but like they were one of the last holdout in this little village. So when I go back, I'd like to go with her to visit this area. If the fighting's not in this area anymore. Yeah, I'm right there with you, KK. K and K GGs. I'm just calling you GG from now on. I don't care. But yeah, you go in a lot of these areas. No, I didn't want to do that. And oh, this is somebody's backyard. Of course, when I want to find an aerial shot, So again, mostly flat, some rolling hills. And then you got this little outcrop back here, huh? Mm. And again, nice flat Midwest farmland or Ukrainian farmland. All right, night, Gigi. I'm calling it a night as well. I got a couple things I need to take care of before I go to bed. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait like 2 hours to get a reply from them because they're not awake yet. Should be fun. Yeah, business dealings in Ukraine, which is 8 hours ahead of me. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning there, and I have to wait till at least 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning to get a reply. Always fun. I closed my intro from Golby. So let's just go home, YouTube, history.
I'm on the phone with Claire.
You mean unclaire?